And now, here's Mike Muse with the political news.
So let's get right to it and meet the candidates.
That completes the opening statement.
We're going to get right to it.
On Sway in the morning.
Mike Muse got job security.
Right.
He ain't going nowhere, no time fast. I can guarantee you that. It's just too much going on in this reality show called politics.
Absolutely.
I'm just sitting back eating popcorn now. I'm not invested no more. I can't. It's an emotional roller coaster.
I think you and the rest of America, actually the world actually is watching right now.
Right, I'm into music again.
Good for you, man. Stay in that space. Stay in your happy place.
Thank you, man. Can we start with the primaries?
Yes, man. So
okay.
Yesterday, citizens, it is primary season. We are on the lookout just to see what's going to happen. Is it going to be a Democratic wave? Is it going to be a red wave coming in the midterms coming up in November? Yesterday, we saw some key results happening in Minnesota, where we saw the first, what it seems to be one of the first of two Muslim women who will be sent to Congress. The first, I spoke last week about Rashid Tlaib from Detroit, who's a Muslim woman who will be the first, due to primary seasons, to be predicted to go into Congress. And yesterday, she's going to have a counterpart by the name of Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar is Minnesota state rep, and so they will be one of two of the first Muslim women in Congress, so cheers to them. Followed by Minnesota had a little bit of a surprise defeat. The former governor got defeated, and so he will not go on to be the primary candidate for the Republican nominee. Actually, so Jeff Johnson beat out Tim Pawlenty, and so they will be going head-to-head with what's going to happen with that. Also, too, Keith Ellison, you guys may know him, citizens. He is the deputy chairman of the Democratic Party. He has now been the new Democratic nominee for Attorney General, so he decided to switch sides a little bit, going from House Representative to Attorney General. And then we saw major news yesterday where a transgender woman by the name of Christine Hallquist was elected for the nomination for Democratic candidate for governor of Vermont. So cheers to her for making history when it comes down to that. Now the moment we all basically been waiting for is just Omarosa versus Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, I talked about this on Monday, and I talked about how important it really was going to be, and you guys caught up, and you guys said, this isn't important, this is a waste of time, this is BS, why is she here? And I kept saying no, but the difference is no matter how you feel about her, she has the tapes.
Right.
And it's the tapes that you have to assess whether or not it's true or not. So what happened was we saw on Monday, Trump got really upset by the news that he saw on Monday. And I think he probably heard our conversation here on Sway in the Morning. And he sent out a tweet when he said, when you are a crazed, crying, low-life, a break and give her a job at the White House, I guess it just didn't work out. Good work by General Kelly for quickly firing that dog. So, citizens, as you know, dog is normally a whisperer for racist antics and tactics. In fact, when you're speaking about an African-American female, that caused a lot of controversy. And here's what Omarosa had to say in response to that comment.
It just shows you that if he would say that publicly, what else would he say about me privately? He has absolutely no respect for women, for African Americans.
So basically, yesterday, what we saw was a framing of race conversations and race dynamic here in America, and really the race conversation that's happening inside the White House and administration. And is President Trump a racist? And so that was a question that we were just all asking, having conversations with yesterday. And yesterday, there was a press briefing held at the White House by Press Secretary Sarah Sanders in regards to this notion of there's a tape out there where President Trump has used an N-word. And here's what Sarah Sanders had to say about that.
Can you stand at the podium and guarantee the American people they'll never hear Donald Trump utter the N-word on a recording in any context?
I can't guarantee anything, but I can tell you that the president addressed this question directly. I can tell you that I've never heard it.
Just to be clear, you can't guarantee it.
Look, I haven't been in every single room. I can tell you the president has addressed this directly.
So what's interesting about that, Sway, is that she can't guarantee that he has never used the N-word, and she can no longer guarantee their audio will be released of that. Why? Because Omarosa has provided receipt after receipt, so she can't go on record and guarantee that. She tried to answer the question, Sway, by talking about all the great things that President Trump has done for the African-American community, including employment.
This is a president who is fighting for all Americans, who is putting policies in place that help all Americans, particularly African Americans. Just look at the economy alone. This president, since he took office in the year and a half that he's been here, has created 700,000 new jobs for African Americans. That's 700,000 African Americans that are working now that weren't working when this president took place. When President Obama left after 8 years in office, he had only created 195,000 jobs for African Americans. President Trump in his first year and a half has already tripled what President Obama did in 8 years.
Okay.
Survey says
wait, go ahead.
Survey says that is a lie. So I guess Omarosa has them on their feet. Immediately, Sarah Sanders tweeted an apology. We've never seen that happen from Press Secretary
Hold up.
Sanders.
Sarah Sanders tweeted an apology?
Yep, and the tweet goes like this, quote, correction from today's briefing, job numbers for President Trump and President Obama were correct, but the time frame for President Obama wasn't. I'm sorry for the mistake. Make no apologies for the 700,000 jobs of African Americans created under Trump. That last part is correct, the 700,000 jobs since President Trump has been in office. So let's fact check that, citizens. The truth of the matter is this. The U.S. economy had added 700,000 jobs held by African American workers since Trump took office. That is a fact. It added about 3 million black jobs, though, while Obama was in office, according to the Federal Labor Statistics. You can Google it and Google Federal Labor Statistics for yourself. When Obama took office in 2009, that was the worst recession that America had, one of the worst recession America had seen. There were 15.5 million African Americans had jobs in the economy. That was one at his worst. When he left office, citizens, and here is where it gets the facts come into play. When he left office, the economy had 18.4 million black workers. So to continue on with the truths, the untruths, there's tapes to prove it. Monday evening, Katrina Pearson, citizens, you may be aware of her. She was the campaign spokesperson. She said, you know what, you guys are crazy. Omarosa is crazy. There are no tapes out there with President Trump using the N-word. There was never a conference call that I ever mentioned that was ever on. The conference call did not happen, and here is that in her own words.
Katrina cursed and said, he said it. Did that happen?
No, Ed, that did not happen. It sounds like she's writing a script for a movie.
Well, with that said, Omarosa saw that. Omarosa said, hold my beer, and she went on CBS in the morning yesterday, and here's what she released.
I said, well, sir, can you think of any time that this might have happened? And he said no.
Well, that's not true.
He goes, how do you think I should handle it? And I told him exactly what you just said, Omarosa, which is, well, it depends on what scenario you're talking about. And he said, well, why don't you just go ahead and put it to bed? I don't know what the scandal is. No, he said it. He's embarrassed.
He said it. He's embarrassed. That was actually Katrina Pearson who
what the
actually
hell?
said
Wait,
that.
hold up, man. The woman just bold-faced lied.
She lied. She said on Monday night that there was no use of the N-word ever. There is no tape out there that exists, and there was no conference call that actually took place. That's why Omarosa has a receipt. You can say what you want about her. That's why she released the audio the next morning of the conference call. Mm-hmm. That is proof that it happened. And Katrina literally said that he said it and he's embarrassed by it. But it goes further. Of course, the truth isn't the truth, obviously, as of now. So Katrina released a statement to cover her tracks yesterday. And she said, quote, during the 2016 campaign, we heard rumors about an alleged tape from The Apprentice. It's clear now that those rumors were always being circulated by Omarosa and her alone. And her secret tape recording of me, it was one of many times that I would placate Omarosa to move the discussion along because I was weary of her obsession over this alleged tape. That discussion was nothing other than sifting through unconfirmed rumors regarding the Apprentice tape. So she is now saying what she said it wasn't even the truth, and so we shouldn't believe what she said on the tape, but we should believe this statement.
So when should we believe her?
Bro, that is the $1 million question everybody is wondering.
So Sarah Sanders lied. This woman lied.
Yep. So the lies just keep continuing, and now we can actually say it's a lie because we have tapes now for the first time. And to go further, what's really making the White House nervous is this new dropping bombshell that Omarosa said yesterday on MSNBC.
Did Donald Trump know about those emails before they came out?
Absolutely.
He knew about them?
Yes.
He knew what was coming out before WikiLeaks released them? You're saying Donald Trump had a back channel?
I didn't say that, you did, but I will say that
How do you
I am
know
going
about
to
him, then?
expose the corruption that went on in the campaign and in the White House. I'm going to continue to blow the whistle on all of this.
So that is the smoking.
Oh my gosh, what is happening?
So that is the smoking gun. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the biggest breaking news that occurred yesterday. That is probably the most explosive thing to come out of Omarosa's book tour and her media tour right now. For so long, we're talking about the WikiLeaks, ladies and gentlemen, of Clinton's emails. That is where the collusion begins to get called into question. And did the Trump campaign, did President Trump collude with Russia operators and actors in the Kremlin in order to get sensitive information about Hillary Clinton? And did they release that ahead of time? What Omarosa is suggesting right here is that she is saying allegedly that President Trump knew it. Whether or not she has the tapes or not, I have no idea, but she has not lied up to this point yet. And here's what Giuliani had to say in reaction to Omarosa saying that last night.
100% confident she does not. It's not true. He didn't know. I know he didn't know.
And if he did?
I know it even beyond being his lawyer.
If he knew, is it a problem?
No. But he
No.
didn't know. He didn't know.
I hear you.
I'm not even going to get into the hypothetical. He did not know.
So there we have it. So Giuliani, who is President Trump's attorney, said that he didn't know. He didn't have any of this information. And so here we are. And that was the last 24 hours, ladies and gentlemen.
Damn.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Anybody want to call up, you can. We're not even going to a song right now.
Mike Muse, really quickly, I keep seeing reports that Omarosa may be brought up on charges for the confidentiality agreement, breaking an agreement. Have you heard anything about that?
Yes, a great question that you asked. Thank you so much for that. So the President Trump's campaign is actually going to arbitration to essentially offer to seek a cease and desist to stop Omarosa from talking and from discussing these notions. The question that is coming up is that why is this White House requiring now looking at the administration, why is this White House allowing and asking their employees and their staffers to sign a non-disclosure agreement? Yesterday from the podium, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders suggested that this is normal. This is what everyone does in the White House. That actually isn't true. There's a difference between an NDA, non-disclosure agreements, which we sign here in corporate America to protect the corporate interest, versus actually when you have a security clearance. So when you have a high security clearance, thus by the nature of the security clearance, you are not allowed to talk. But there isn't necessarily a notion of you signing anything.
Deezy's on the line from Jacksonville. What's your question, Deezy?
Deezy.
Hey, what's up, Sway? What's up, Heather B? What's up, everybody?
What up, man? Deezy. Go ahead. What's your question?
So basically, I just kind of got a question. I understand, everything as far as, Omarosa and, what she, her tapes and, she got receipts and, all this. But I just feel like, with all the stuff that's going on in the world, why are we putting so much time and energy on shit that we already know been going on? The president lies, White House press secretary lies, Sarah Sanders, whatever her name is, she lies. Everybody knows that. Why are we even wasting time about this? Like, who cares about, Omarosa and what the president lied about? I mean, why is this even big news is what I'm trying to figure out.
Geez, that's a really great question that you asked. I would just break it down in a couple of different categories, a couple of different buckets. I think that you should ask that question to President Trump. President Trump actually did a tweet series about this. And so he's taken time out of his day to discuss this nature of it. For also long, we've heard these reports from, newspapers and articles and journalists, and these journalists couldn't cite their sources. There's always anonymous sources. There was no named sources. And so although there's some sentiment out in America where they believe that the President Trump is not telling the truth and that he's lying, but there was never actually any way to verify that. There was no videotapes. There was no interviews to really catch him on. And so this is what's interesting now is that these tapes are actually providing that. We just outlined approximately 5 different individuals associated with President Trump, either through his campaign or his administration, that have now all been caught in a lie. The bigger question then goes to how can then our partners around the world then trust this administration and what they're saying? How can we as Americans and citizens begin to trust what our administration is saying? There is a lot at stake when you can't when you can't have confidence in what is being said from the podium of the press secretary, or what is being said from the Oval Office, or what is being put out in a tweet is the truth from the President of the United States and this administration. And so this is why it's important. And I'm sure if you've seen his Twitter timeline, the president is very active. The president probably tweets about 20 times a day, and that's probably being conservative. And each tweet is breaking news. I covered this on last week when I talked about the tweet that he sent out on Friday about the tariffs and against Turkey, was then caused Turkey's currency to go into a downward spiral, which then affected the global markets. And so this is where we are.
Yeah. And then you couldn't trust anything that's coming out of the administration in regards to policy. And why? Let me ask you something, DZ. Why would you want a leader who lie?
That's my point. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't want a leader that lie. So, but I'm saying is this. We already know this. You know what I'm saying? To me, I feel like most of us already know Trump lied. We knew that before he even became president. That's why most of us didn't want him to be president. Now, how he got to be president, that's ways we don't even know. Yeah, they can tell us about, he won this vote or electoral and all that, which I don't even know nobody who owned the Electoral College. I don't even know nobody who owned the Electoral College. So all that's BS to me. If he didn't win the people's vote, why is he president? All right, so next thing. On top of that, we already been knew he lied. Why is anybody entertaining Omarosa at this point when you was championing so hard for this man while he was running for president? The Apprentice was years ago before he even thought about going for presidency. So if he said nigga back then, why would you even rocking with him during the campaign? And then why should we even entertain you right now when you was, if you wouldn't have got fired, got your ass kicked out that White House, will we be hearing any of this right now? You know what I'm saying?
Okay. That's fair enough. I'm just of the mind frame of whoever's in that office. I don't care what political party they represent. You got to govern and lead the full population of the country. That doesn't matter if they're white, black, Asian, or otherwise. That's why it matters when school systems when school systems where I grew up don't have proper resources. When you go into Washington D.C., there's not proper representation that represents your voice and what you need in your community. When somebody lies their way into office, to me this is interesting because we hear about his lies, but now we got proof of his lies, and so you could say we know he lies, but these tapes are showing you that there's lies being told. To me, the evidence is important. So, but DZ, you got a good point. We got Chris on the line from Jersey City. What are your thoughts?
Stand up.
What's up, man? So I had a question for Mike Muse. So let's say they even release this audio that someone's saying that he said the N-word. What would happen in a case like that? Like, we all know that he lies and he said stupid things and he's a backpedaler. So what would happen if that audio came out?
There's nothing legal that can be done to him. Like, so there's, you can't remove him from office, you can't arrest him. So there's no implication of that. But actually what Sway is alluding to, though, is when you're the president of the United States of America, no matter if you're Democrat or Republican, you have to represent all of the people. So you have to represent every single identity, demographic, socioeconomical status. And so when the campaign is over, you're supposed to leave that in the campaign and then govern from a total perspective. If you're using derogatory comments and names associated with a certain group demographic of America, then how can that demographic, that being the black folks, trust what you're doing is going to be at the behest of black interests and black people, and you'll do right by them? And so no one ever wants a president, Republican or Democrat, who's antagonistic towards a demographic.
Chris, thanks for your call, man. No problem, man. Real quick, this is about the upcoming election. Mark from the Bronx, what you want to ask? Go ahead.
What up, Mark?
What up, Sway? What up, Mike Muse? My question is basically, why is he president, right? Okay. We all know that he lies, right? We all know that he doesn't, support a certain segment of the population, but he got president because he became president because people care about their pocketbook, right? And you can't deny the fact that he did add some jobs, right? So when are we going to have a candidate, or when are we going to have candidates to choose from that are going to appeal to that on the other side, with the Democratic Party? When are we going to have candidates that don't make us choose between the left and the right and bring it together so that we can unite as a people?
I agree.
It's a great question, Mark.
Yeah.
I suggest you tune in to the Mike Muse Show today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Insight Channel, Channel 121, where I'm actually going to do a deep dive in this whole dynamic of what you're talking about in terms of what does the electorate want in 2020. And I asked, we're going to be talking about those questions that you're asking right now, so make sure you tune into that. That's it for the people to decide, Mark. What's interesting about that, though, was all that we're talking about Trump has lied, and now we have facts on it. There's still a strong part of the American population that supports him. There's still a strong part of the population that doesn't see anything that he's doing wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to just use one recent example. We've been talking a lot about the tariffs, not only just the aluminum tariffs and steel tariffs, but also talking about the commodities when it comes to soy, when it comes to dairy, when it comes to cheese, what's happening with China and that dynamic. There are still farmers who are in those red states who voted for Trump, who are now seeing their profits become stretched, are in jeopardy of their livelihood and their cushion. They're still saying there support him because they believe that he's doing the right thing, and they hoped that he'll be able to adjust it in the long run. So you even have individuals who are going after their self-interest on the hope that hopefully he'll turn things around. And so there is a strong part of the population that still likes him, and these type of antics have no bearing on their decision to support him. So there is a population that loves him and supports him and doesn't see the lies as lies.
Thank you for your call, man. Mike Muse, make sure y'all tune in to him today.
Yes, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on channel 121 on the Insight channel.
You got a new time slot?
Yeah, they bumped me to the evenings, man, so I'm excited for that.
Evening drive. He trying to go up against me in the happy hour. I see what you're doing, Mike
saw
Muse.
that, right?
Yeah.
Yo, I forgot my Instagram and Twitter. Hit me up at I am Mike Muse, M-U-S and Sam E on Instagram and Twitter. And yo, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be posting all these type of videos on there so you can learn more.
Okay, thank you, Mike Muse. A lot to talk about, guys. And I'm glad we got all the callers that's engaged in the conversation. It will impact and affect your lives and the lives of your family. So it's good that we pay attention. We got our daily Colin Kaepernick recap up next in sports.
Yes, Sway. I'm talking about the WNBA as well as Major League Baseball.